Hey guys, Dr. Ernst here. Welcome to another night of Q&A with Dr. A. So excited that you're joining us this evening. We have some incredible questions as we do each and every week. Some of these are kind of food specific, and I'm going to show a couple products that I think will also help out for tonight. Don't forget, each and every week you get to be the author of our various episodes. Scroll down below the video. There's a button you can click on. You can submit your questions. We've been fielding quite a lot, and in fact, I've got some special surprises coming up for you guys as we sort of close out tonight, being that it is the week before Thanksgiving. And I want to make sure too that you understand this Saturday my radio show is preempted, so we're not on WBT. We're not going to be there at 3 o'clock. We've done something special for you, and we've recorded somewhat of a video radio show, and you guys will see in the email that comes out. Hopefully, if you haven't already gotten it, you'll get it again today. That shows you how to get access to the video. I talked a lot about the flu virus. We also had a question about the flu, and I talked a lot about how there's 3 horrible words that you would want to say, which is, it's the holidays. So make sure you watch the video. Make sure you guys see how to not sabotage yourself over the holidays. But hey, why don't we take a dive and go right in? First question says, can I have bulletproof coffee during my bone broth fast? So the short answer to it is, you can do whatever you want. I guess, should you have coffee during your bone broth fast? And if you want to be like a 3%er, I'm going to say no. But I understand that if you've been a long-term coffee drinker and I'm asking you not to have coffee, going 4 days without coffee for your average long-term coffee drinker is a little challenging. So can you have coffee during your fast? Yes, but let's talk about how you should prepare it. First and foremost, the only coffee that I'm recommending as of late, and I'll tell you why in a moment, is Purity. We've talked about Purity before. We've even done some Q&As about Purity. But Purity coffee is the world's only toxin-free, pesticide-free, sort of mold, fungus, yeast-free coffee that I have found. And by the way, this stuff tastes amazing. You're not going to get a caffeine rush with it. It's incredible stuff. It's also a North Carolina local roaster. I really like that because we're supporting local. And the bag is, roasted to order. So you order it online or you get it from us if you want to buy it locally. And it's roasted the day you order it, and it's delivered to you within 24 hours. Nitrogen packed, no oxygen. Obviously, you guys can tell I like this coffee. I've been drinking this now for about 4 months. And in fact, I'm not going to any other coffee than this because of what I've noticed. But yes, you can have coffee. Make sure it's Purity. And because the purpose of a bone broth fast is twofold, we're increasing your fats. The bone fat from the marrow and the fat that's found on some of the bones is going to come off and make a nice fat layer at the top. But it also has glutamine and collagen and glycogen and other nutrients that you want for your gut. But it's the fats that we want. So if you're going to have coffee during your bone broth fast, you must do this. 1 tablespoon of grass-fed butter, 1 tablespoon of MCT oil, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. Melt that into that coffee, and if you have a frother, froth it. If you have a blender, blend it. If you have one of those like coffee mixers, mix it. What's going to happen is you'll emulsify the fats. It's going to look like there's cream in it, even though there's not. You're taking the fats and you're blending them around and you're dissolving them into the coffee. It's a great way to add the 3 healthiest fats to your diet. So if you're bone broth fasting and you must have a cup of coffee, do it that way. But ideally, don't have coffee during those 4 days of broth fasting. Next question says, I've been losing weight and I'm at a bit of a plateau. What can I do to break through that? So here's the other, something to understand. Every time you lose weight, you're going to hit some level of plateau. I wish I could say weight loss was just a pound a day consistent. More than likely what happens is you lose a lot of weight fast, and then you plateau out, and then you lose a little bit, and then you plateau, and you lose a little bit. And I'll tell you honestly, most of the plateaus come because your body just got too used to what you were doing. So one way to sort of break through the plateau is mix it up a bit. Now, your question doesn't say what you've been doing. It doesn't say what you started at. It doesn't say anything. So I'll give you an example. If I have 100 pounds to lose, you're going to lose a lot, and then you're going to start to kind of plateau out. And that's normal. We don't want to necessarily say you got to keep going exponentially with the decrease. But if you're at, say, like only needing to lose 10 pounds, you might lose 2 and plateau there. And so it happens. It does it for everybody. But here are some of the classic things that create a plateau. Fat burning is a process that happens because of you switching from sugar burning. So your body's going to be either focusing on sugar for energy or focusing on fat for energy. if you lost a lot of weight for a period of time, you were engaging your fat burning process. But if this is slowed down, chances are you may have skirted back to the sugar burning state. There's a couple things that do that. If you've been eating too much protein can turn into carbs in the body. And so if your carbs go up, you get out of ketosis, you get out of fat burning, you go back into sugar burning states. Number two is you've slacked off on eating high fats. Maybe you did a really good job within the beginning. You cut your carbs to near zero, you bump the healthy fats up. But as it's been weeks or months, you've been eating a little bit more carbohydrates, not enough fat. So that's another thing. Secondly, if you have an adrenal issue, you're going to lose some weight and then you're going to stick there and you'll stay there. In fact, maybe you lost weight because you lost a lot of water or you lost some muscle mass, but your numbers say you haven't lost an ounce or a pound of fat. That's a classic sort of adrenal issue. There is what's known as adrenal stress syndromes or adrenal disorders where the adrenal gland is responsible for monitoring cortisol and DHEA and other hormones. And so if your hormones are out of balance, you're going to plateau out. So you may need to get some adrenal support. Thyroid, by far, one of the biggest reasons we plateau. You lose a lot of weight in the beginning because mostly we kick off toxic water. So you can lose 10, 15, 20 pounds like that and think you're doing great. But now it's time for your thyroid to kick in and for your hormones to start working, for your T3 to start activating fat burning. But if you're missing some of those nutrients in the thyroid gland, it's not going to work, so you'll plateau out. So maybe it's time to get a basic thyroid test done. Just a word of caution, getting a thyroid panel done at your medical office, they're only going to check probably the common three, TSH, T3, and T4. So instead what you're going to want to do is get a full functional panel run. Look for the reverse T3, look for the thyroglobulin antibodies, look for thyroid peroxidase antibodies. Of course, it's something we do in our clinics, so if you're needing some help, just reach out to us if you want some professional assistance. I think probably the greatest, though, is nutrient deficiencies. Maybe you're missing some of the classic B vitamins needed for metabolism, or you're low in L-carnitine, which is a huge fat supporter. We could use some fat-burning agents like ashwagandha and green coffee. We could sort of stimulate you. We could even detox you to help you break through a plateau, but you're not alone. Lots of people plateau, but the good news is it sounds like you've been losing some weight, so hurrah, good for you. Don't give up. Don't let a plateau mean it doesn't work. Switch things up. Change your diet routine. Maybe it's time to start engaging some intermittent fasting, which is a question we have coming up. So don't tune out. Pay attention. Next question says, do detox baths really work? And how do I know which one is good for me and what's the difference between them? So I'm going to be very, very blunt here. Detoxification, by definition, is the removal of toxins from the body. Cleansing is the removal of waste materials. So what's the difference between waste and a toxin? Well, toxins are at a cellular level. So they're oxidation, they're free radicals, there's things to that effect. There are also things like pesticides, herbicides, fungus, mold, lime, metals, etc. Cleansing is really by definition just kind of flushing waste or stool from the system. So these are not really like cleansing baths. You're not going to go lay in this bath and all of a sudden go to the bathroom. These are things that we're going to use the skin's natural ability to excrete to get some toxins out of you into the water. So basically the way they work is they create either a concentration gradient or they put something in the bath that you're going to absorb through your skin. Your skin is one of your largest organs, and it is one vitally important detoxification organ, so we want to see if we can use it. Now, in my opinion, the best way to engage your skin for detox is to let the sweat come out because we're trying to get toxins out. So, detox baths work by putting stuff into you, and saunas, exercise, heat therapies work by sucking stuff out of you through your skin. So if I'm going to detox through my skin, I would do some saunas, like infrared or hot or steam. But now that we're talking about baths, let's talk about how to put some fun stuff into you. One really good bath is just a generalized baking soda detox bath. As it may sound, you're going to increase the pH of the water. The sodium bicarbonates add a soothing effect. What they do is they work really well for like joints and swollen lymph nodes. Think of like if you got a virus, if you have a cold or a flu or something like that, a baking soda bath is great. Get the water as hot as you can stand it, 103, 104. Put probably about a half a cup or a cup. You want it to be aluminum free. Make sure you pay attention, aluminum free, because we don't want to add the metals to the water. But it's really good. It's kind of like a muscle rub relax. It's a detox bath. It helps you to sort of clear out swollen glands and lymph nodes in your throat, etc. Another one that probably a lot of people have done before is a salt bath. You can use Epsom salts, which is magnesium based. So of course that's for soothing sore muscles and sore joints. You can use salt baths like Himalayan salt or even Celtic salts, which again has the ability to sort of soothe your joints and things like that. But what I like about salt baths is they help to draw out a lot of toxins, especially pesticides and herbicides and medications. And it does that by creating that concentration gradient. Really salty water on the outside, not so salty in your body, so all the liquids move to where the salts are, and we get some stuff to come out. One thing they've shown that salt baths help, interestingly enough, is they decrease blood pressure and they help to sort of increase blood flow to your skin. So when you do a really hot salt bath, you're going to come out and be a little lightheaded because it's an increase of blood flow to the body. Apple cider vinegar, really great one, especially if you got skin issues. So eczema, psoriasis, rashes and stuff like that. They're really good also for generalized detox and they help with the body. This is good though for a lot of like external things. Again, yeast infections, psoriasis, eczema, because the acidity and the nature of the apple cider vinegar helps to sort of detoxify the skin. Little fun fact, acids are always really good for your skin. You don't want to put acids in your body, but you can use them externally. They help with generalized detoxification. There are some anecdotal evidence showing that apple cider vinegar helps well with like arthritis and tight muscles and bursitis and swollen joints and things to that effect. Lastly, and just a fun one that I've recently learned about, is a hydrogen peroxide detox bath. As crazy as it sounds, it's a method of increasing the oxygen in the water, and of course you're going to absorb it across your skin. Hydrogen peroxide has anti-everything abilities. It kills mold and fungus and yeasts. So it's very cleansing for your skin, very cleansing for your body. And what's unique about it is hydrogen peroxide is just basically water with an extra oxygen. So when you pour it into the water, the oxygen dissipates off. You get a free oxygen radical. It gets absorbed into the body, and it's used for cleansing and detoxifying. Your skin, of course, is going to absorb the oxygen. If you're going to do a hydrogen peroxide bath, though, don't use the 3%. It's already too dilute. You need to use the stronger food-grade hydrogen peroxide, 35%. And listen, this stuff is really strong. Start light, like 4 to 6 ounces for your first bath, working your way up to maybe 16 ounces. And of course, hydrogen peroxide has a kind of a caustic bleaching effect, so don't dunk your head underneath unless you want your hair to be a lot lighter. Next question, and this will help our plateauing person. I want to begin intermittent ketogenic dieting. Can you map out what that looks like? Yes, okay, so ketogenic dieting is this. Ketone bodies are produced as a byproduct in the liver when you burn fat. So it's sort of a way to encourage you to switch from sugar burning to fat burning. In order to do it though, classically you have to fast. So for example, if I fast on just water for 4 or 5 days, I'm going to naturally get into a ketogenic state. If I want to get into a higher state of ketosis, I can fast with bone broth, or I could fast with lemon water, or even like coffee fasting. That's a fun one, with lots of oils, right? So boosting your fats through your liquids. If you eat nothing but fats for a couple days, then you're going to get into a ketogenic state. So intermittent fasting, by definition, though, is on a daily basis picking a window where you don't eat. And the classic window is skip breakfast, have lunch, have dinner. Next day, skip breakfast, have lunch, have dinner. Now, to make it more ketogenic, we want to eat specific foods. So things that are high in fats, things that are moderate in proteins, and no or next to no carbohydrates. So all fruits are out. Most colored vegetables are out. If we're going to eat something, it can be green, like a bell pepper or broccoli or chard or things to that effect, avocado, etc. But we want the really high fat things. So nuts and seeds, flax, chia, hemp. We want to do fish and beef and chicken. And then our plant fats, some, avocados and olives, even coconut products are really great. So again, the classic sort of like day would look like this. So breakfast is going to be your Bulletproof coffee, and Bulletproof is just a way of describing a high-fat coffee. So I'd make a cup of Purity coffee, and I'd put a tablespoon of butter in it, a tablespoon of MCT oil in it, a tablespoon of coconut, stir it around, blend it around, steam it, froth it, whatever you want, and there's my breakfast. And then, so lunch, I'm going to try to hold back till at least noon, maybe 1 o'clock. And now I'm going to do something like, I might kickstart it with a high-fat smoothie. So coconut milk, protein powder, maybe just some frozen berries at that most, nothing high in carbohydrates. And there's my kind of like start for lunch. Maybe a little bit later in the day, it's now 1 o'clock, I might have a high-fat almond snack or a high-fat Brazil nut snack, something really high in fat. A little bit of cheese, maybe I'll eat some butter directly. And then as far as for dinner, we might be looking at, like, say, some salmon, because again, wild-caught salmon is going to be high in fat. Drizzle some olive oil all over it. Have a half of an avocado on the side, maybe some slices of raw cheese, and maybe fermented sauerkraut or kimchi or some sort of fermented vegetable, because when you ferment things, the sugars come out. The bacteria eat all the sugars. Great sort of like first day. And just repeat this over and over. And if you want to be professional at it, you need to be checking your ketones. So it's a good intermittent fast. 12 to 8 is your eating window. 8 to noon is your fasting window. Drink coffee with oils. Have lots of fun. Next question says, I just got the flu shot. Now I have the flu. What do I do? Next year, don't get it. But in all honesty, let's talk about that for a moment. So we're going to do our show. We've already recorded it. You guys have probably already seen it, but make sure you pay attention to my this week's Ask Dr. Ernst topic. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence and even science that shows that if you get the flu shot in 1 year, the next year you have a higher chance of getting the flu, and even that same year you do, because we only pick about 2 or 3 strains. So if we're unlucky at guessing the strains, then we're not going to get any response. Second, vaccines produce an artificial sort of temporary immunity because you've bypassed your microbiome, the nose, the bacteria in the lungs, your stomach, etc. You should be inhaling viruses all the time and building natural immunity to them all the time. So if you inject yourself with a vaccine to sort of subskirt that, you hijack your immunity, and that's going to set yourself up for failure. So I hate to say, you've got it, but let's get you through it pretty quick. Let's go back to what we just talked about. Remember the detox baths? So you get your baking soda bath. That's great to do. Remember, all flu vaccines, even if they say they aren't, they have toxins in them. So there's formaldehydes, there's preservative agents, there's sometimes metals and things to that effect. So if you're somebody who has just taken like a metal-based vaccine, Cytodetox is an incredible metal detoxifier. What this stuff does is that you put it on your tongue. It's a zeolite. It grabs metals and toxins. I use this for people who are metal toxic. And so most flu shots have a low level amount of thimerosal, which is mercury. They sometimes have aluminum. They have these sort of like agents that help to keep the viruses at bay. So we would definitely want to say, let's suck the toxins out. I use Cytodetox for that, so it's a great way of doing it. Make sure you give yourself a boost for your detoxification. Glutathione, N-acetylcysteine, milk thistle. You can even use some chelation products like carbon, fulvic acid, magnesium. You need to do something to get that out. And then secondly, you probably would have never gotten the flu or needed to get the flu shot if your immune system was really bulked up and high. Boosting your vitamin D is great to do now to help you get through it, but I'm thinking for you for next year, so you don't do this again, skip the shot and use your natural flu shot. So 5,000 to 10,000 units of vitamin D. Make sure that you're working on your microbiome. That's all the bacteria inside of your intestines and in your nose and in your lungs. And then get adjusted. Chiropractically, they've shown if you release this stress on the spine, you can boost your immunity sometimes 200, 300, 400%. So hopefully you're going to a chiropractor on a regular basis. And then, of course, like lots of rest and lots of fluids. You'll get through it. It's not going to kill you, but of course it's an inconvenience. But hopefully it's lesson learned. No more flu shots next year. So the last question says, what are some good mushrooms? My wife is always eating them. I'm kind of lukewarm, and give me some reasons why I should get excited about all the mushrooms in our house. That's a lot of fun, isn't it? Notice how it's often our wives that make us do something because we love our wives. We'll change our life. At least you should. So mushrooms are great for a couple reasons. Number one, they have a lot of minerals in them. They have a lot of detoxifiers. I read something fascinating that mushrooms are extremely high in vitamin D, and they found out that if you actually grow them in the presence of a UV light, you can boost the vitamin D response in mushrooms. So that, if anything, is a great reason why we want to eat more mushrooms. But they're also loaded in things like selenium, niacin. But then again, so is every food that I start to say to you. This is high in that, and that's high in this. I look at it as mushrooms are sort of a naturally occurring, plant product that goes through the process of kind of taking a ton of nutrition from the soil. They're decomposers, so they tend to like break things down. And this sort of like plant that's presented is going to be loaded with all kinds of nutrients because it's tearing down leaf matter, trees, decomposing, animals, birds, snakes, whatever's out there. And they work great. Of course, for vegetarians, they're high in protein, so they're great sources for that. But I want to talk about like the different types. So for example, white mushrooms, your classic sort of button mushrooms, are really good at helping to detox from toxic estrogen, which is a big problem today, not just for men, but also for women. High levels of estrogen in women have been found to cause breast cancer. In men, they tend to spike, all kinds of things like within our prostate, within our livers, we start losing our hair, etc. Reishi mushrooms have really high amounts of antivirals inside of them. And so they've been also noticed to be anti-cancerous because a lot of cancers are viral based. So that's good. Chanterelle is also really good at fighting bacteria, viruses, and fungus. The shijimi, trust me, I practice, but I'm probably not pronouncing these right. Shijimi mushrooms and maitake are also really good at shrinking tumors, cancer again, because they're antiviral. They have a lot of properties like that. Porcini, which I believe are Italian, really good for inflammation, so fighting down sort of arthritic aches and pains and joint issues. But again, if you'll notice, I think the reason that these things do this is they're really high in selenium, which is an immune booster. They're really high in vitamin D, so they help to fight off your classic sort of diseases. So if anything, I think go for them. Mushrooms are always good to have. They're really great in ketogenic diets. There's a lot of protein in them, so it's a really good source. They have almost no carbohydrates, so you really can't go wrong. And I think, if anything, if you're kind of new to mushrooms, just branch out of your classic button white mushrooms and go for some of these more, exotic mushrooms. Even wild mushrooms are great. Just make sure that you've got somebody who's verifying that they're not poisonous if you're going to be picking your own. Hopefully you guys found tonight to be informative. I love answering your questions. You can always submit them again each and every week. Every Thursday, 7 o'clock is Q&A with Dr. A. Every Saturday, except for this Saturday, of course, on 11:10 a.m. WBT at 3 p.m. is my radio show, Ask Dr. Ernst. And anytime it's preempted, what we're going to do is we're going to record these little webinar kind of broadcasts so you can see what we're talking about, you can listen to them, you can even share them with all of your friends. And hopefully, I hope that you guys do that. You're not just watching this for yourself, but you're going, wow, this is great. And you're going to click that share button that's right next to the link for the video and send it out to your friends, to your family. Because there's one thing I've been seeing, there's a massive need for people to get healthy today. And there's not enough true information out there. It's been said that the truth will set you free, and so my hope is the truth behind your health will set you free for your health. Have an amazing holiday time. I know Thanksgiving's coming up, but don't let those "it's the holidays" be the destroyer for you. So tune in to the video broadcast we're sending out. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.